What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the channel. First of all, thank you all so much for the countless support. I'm beyond humbled and grateful to be in the position I'm currently am here on the channel. So seriously, thank you all so much, guys. Make sure to check out previous live streams and videos if you haven't, if you're curious or if you haven't touched on those topics yet. A lot of great things are happening, but the Mets have been active this offseason, to put it lightly. And now that the Trevor Bauer sweepstakes have come and gone, they've been making a lot of more depth moves, but there's been even further reports over the past 24 to 48 hours that indicate that the Mets aren't just still active in free agency in the trade market and acquiring players, but also coughing up players. And there's three players that definitely come to mind because they're in further reports earlier today, as well, that being, and yes, JD Davis, Dellin Betances, and Jeurys Familia. So that's what we'll be taking a deep dive in today's video. Basically all the latest reports indicating these players, what is the current trade rumors going along with them, where could we see them land possibly, why they could be dealt in the first place, and everything in between. And if you guys end up enjoying this kind of Mets content and want to see more great Mets content like this, make sure to smash that like and subscribe button, share this video with your friends, put on the notification bell, all those great things help us get a 6K subs, guys. We're doing amazing things. So if you haven't joined the WardyNYM community already, make sure to hit those buttons. But enough of me talking, let's get right into today's video. Alright guys, so if you've been following along here on the channel as soon as last night, then you would know that my live stream was originally not supposed to be about Khalil Lee, right? I don't think anyone expected that trade, but again guys, make sure to check that out if you are in fact interested. But the original topic of discussion was basically what kind of trades could we see happening? Are trades going to be happening for the Mets? Because a lot of reports have been coming out over the past day, and that will be in a further live stream again tonight. Basically what we should have done originally last night had that trade not happened in regards to Khalil Lee prospect landing with the Mets on a 3-team deal. But here from Michael Mayer, again, for all you guys that haven't seen it yet, a writer for the New York Mets who's currently a free agent, but he was originally a longtime writer for Metsmerize, who has a lot of credible sources, might I add. He's been in the industry for a while, has stated that the Mets are very much active in the trade market, and that was prior to the Lee trade, and that they very well could be doing this to acquire different types of players, including still trying to upgrade third base. So we've been talking that all off season long, how the Mets very well could have another type of blockbuster in them, but in order to do that, they also need to free up roster space, because currently when you look at the 40-man, things are really tight, and there's a lot of guys that very well could be on their way out of Queens because of it, not just to shed its salary, because they don't need to shed salary, but it's a helpful situation when you cough up these salaries. It's more so about basically the roster itself and wanting to get rid of these players to free up room for either a different bullpen piece or adding in say a bigger trade like third base, starting pitching. And from what we have seen here from Mike Puma, that was originally touched on yesterday, but here again today has further indicated that yes, the Mets are in fact still trying to deal part ways with Dellin Betances and Jeurys Familia respectively to take away their contracts, free up roster space. And he also said here in the follow-up tweet that it wasn't so much about freeing up space in regards to the payroll as it is about the roster. So just to clarify, because I know some people did initially get a little worried as to why are the Mets trying to be determined in freeing up salary. They have money that they're working with. They were definitely going to go over the luxury tax threshold should they have landed Trevor Bauer. So just to down anyone believing that that is a case where they're doing this strictly because of the budget, that's not the case here. They want to get rid of these guys, and for good reason. And JD Davis is another guy that has been reported over the past couple of days that we talked about in another video, could very well be on his way out, as the Mets have been trying to deal with him, or at least have had him in the trade rumor mill, but there hasn't been at least a landing spot currently. And when you look at these three guys, why exactly would they be dealt by the Mets? Well, here we're going to go down exactly why that is. If you're starting off with Familia here we have Familia at 31 years of age. He's currently 4th on the roster and payroll, and that is high for a guy when you look at this team. He's definitely not deserving, no offense Familia, but to be 4th on the payroll is a lot. He's currently making 16.6 mil for the upcoming season, and that is his walk year. Then he'll be a free agent in 2022. But then you also look at Betances, 33 years of age, that the Mets acquired over this past year after being out the entire 2019 season due to injury with the Yankees. A longtime Yankee, as we know, was dominant there, is currently 11th on the team in payroll and has an adjusted salary as well, but this time of $6 million. And then we also have JD Davis. A lot of people love JD, including myself. I really like JD. I don't want to see him go, but there's reasons to suggest that he may be on his way out sooner rather than later. The 28-year-old is 17th on the team in payroll, currently making 2.1 mil, and is under team control up until he becomes a free agent in 2025. So a lot of team control there, but a lot of arbitration eligibilities going forward. And they even went to arbitration this year. Only a difference between what, $300,000 to $350,000, $100,000, and the Mets won that. So he was going for upwards of, I believe, around 2.47 mil, and the Mets were more so around 2.1, and they won that battle. So the fact that the Mets did in fact go to arbitration over something so small is kind of indicating that yes, they have all the right to do that, but it's also telling that they don't love the idea of JD being their starting third baseman. And it's been made clear from from all the reports that we've been seeing connecting the Mets to all these bigger name third basemen that are better defensively and to an extent offensively, that have more longevity, that have probably more upside. Even though JD is young, controllable, and there's a lot to like about him, his defense has been a concern. And if you're looking at JD's numbers in particular in 2020, however, in the shortened season, he had 6 home runs, 19 RBIs, a 247 batting average, and a 371 on base percentage. So definitely a downgrade from his 2019 year where he broke out, but again, it was a shortened season, so take it with a grain of salt to an extent. But in 2019, first breakout year with the Mets after being acquired, had 22 home runs, 57 RBIs, a 307 batting average, and a 369 on base percentage. I saw JD Davis's first 2 home runs in Citi Field back in 2019. Earlier in the year against the Nationals, Pete Alonso hit his first bomb in Citi throughout his career there too. I thought that was amazing. And JD's been a really fun guy, but defensively, he has not been up to par. He's been toyed with at third base, in the outfield, left field, and outfield at times, center field, and things have not looked great overall. If you look at what has happened with him in the 2019 season, he had a -9 DRS, which stands for defense runs saved. Not good. In 2020, he was at a -8. He was on pace to be statistically the worst defensive third baseman in all of baseball, and it wasn't all that close either, which is very worrisome. And for a team that is having not just playoff aspirations, but World Series aspirations, they're definitely trying to prioritize defense, and keeping JD at third realistically is not going to prioritize that. Again, I love JD. I know a lot of people are not going to love the idea of parting ways with him. It'd be nice to possibly have him on a bench role should you acquire a better third baseman, but realistically, that doesn't seem like that's the route the Mets are currently going down, even though I won't say it's impossible because anything can happen at the end of the day. But now let's get on to Dellin Betances, right? Because his first year back after dealing with injuries, having him out for the entire 2019 season, he comes in 2020 with the Mets, and his shortened campaign, I believe right around 15 appearances, had a 7.7 ERA. Betances has looked shaky to say the least, is making $6 million, which isn't a lot, but again, it's a roster spot for someone who definitely could be more better, I should say, in the bullpen, like a Justin Wilson, for example, that we'll probably touch on tonight's stream among some other options there that are still available. Betances could very well rekindle what he once was, but I'm more so in the latter half of his career already, unless he can really get fully healthy. I'm not sure how he's doing with his workouts this offseason, but he was down big time in his fastball and average velocity this past year since coming off his injury, which is telling that yes, we may have seen the best from Dellin Betances, and there's a lot of concerns there with how consistent, how good can he really be for the Mets in this bullpen, or is he really going to just be a liability? And then when you get on to Familia, we all know the story with Familia. He's a heart attack guy as a closer during his prime time with the Mets in their 2015 run and 2016, everything in between, even with the records that he broke. Familia has some nasty stuff, but consistency has not necessarily been there. In 2020, he didn't have a terrible year. He had a 3.7 ERA, which is solid, but more as a setup man. And in 2019, he had a 5.7 ERA with his first year back with the Mets after signing that big deal in which he was making a lot of money, and now he's making 16.6 something mil for his final year of his contract, signed from Brodie Van Wagenen after being dealt the year prior to the A's midseason, which he did good there, but then the Mets acquired him back in free agency. So again, the Mets do not need to shed the salary for these guys. They don't need to get rid of these guys and shed salary, I should say, but they know that's going to help them regardless with freeing up their roster space. Ultimately, you're going to shed salary. So the Mets are very much active. They do want to get rid of these players, and it will not be surprising to suggest that they at least get rid of 2 of the 3 before the offseason is done. Now, the big question is, how are they going to shed the salary here, okay? So you have to look at teams that would be able to willing to have these contracts, or, you know, for the most part, could be part of a bigger deal. Familia is a guy that probably has the most worth between him and Betances. Is not even close. JD's separate because he is obviously not a pitcher, so I'm not going to talk about him right away. But when you're looking at Familia here, he has far more value than Betances. Betances is the biggest worry with me, is how are you going to shed that salary? I get it, it's 1 year left, but could the Yankees possibly take him back? Maybe if you only take on half a salary, something along those lines. I'm not sure. I know the Yankees literally have little to no money that they're currently working with. They're always pushing the luxury tax each and every year, so in regards to Betances, I think he's going to be harder to part ways with, but the Mets are active in trying to do so. And then when you look at Familia as well, he's a guy that could be part of a bigger trade should the team that acquires him be willing to take on that contract. That's the big thing from the reports that we're seeing with both the Reds, the Cubs, and some other teams to an extent. I'm not sure how much they would love the idea of bringing in Familia, especially when you're downgrading in the type of trades that we have talked about and that we will touch on further in tonight's live stream. So in regards to those type of teams, especially especially in regards to the Reds and whether it's other teams that are really smaller in regards to payroll. I don't know how much it'll benefit them bringing in Familia's contract, especially when they're not fully in a win now state. So I'm kind of left with a question mark as to where can these guys land, but the Mets are doing their hardest, it seems, to part ways with both of them to free up roster spots and ultimately free up a lot of millions. If you look at the numbers here, you're freeing up both Familia and Betances. That's over 20 mil. That's amazing. JD is the biggest question mark because of his defensive game. That isn't a surprise there, that for anyone that's been following along this offseason, and it could ultimately lead to his departure with the Mets. Between the arbitration happening, him being the lone guy to go to arbitration for the Mets, it wasn't like it was a big gap here, okay? It was literally right around $300,000 or so. It wasn't like we were in the millions category. That's why I kind of feel like that relationship is really starting to sour. They've been open in saying that they have been trying to part ways with them, not according to Mets, but according to reports that we've seen. And in regards to Familia and Betances, same exact situation. So guys, it looks like the Mets are trying to free up salary and really free up roster spots first and foremost to really make some more trades happen this offseason, some bigger ones. And that's why in tonight's live stream, if you guys are interested, we will be talking about the possible blockbusters that could be happening for the Mets, something that we've talked about plenty in our previous live streams and other videos, but we're going to touch on it further given all the latest reports. And by the time that video comes out, the live stream tonight around 7 p.m. Eastern time, we may even see further reports indicating that we were getting closer to something sooner rather than later. So I hope to see you guys there, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you feel about Betances, Familia, and JD all possibly being on their way out as the next Mets to be traded this offseason? Do you like that idea? Do you not like that idea? What do you think the Mets would bring in return for either of these guys? Or where do you think you could see them land? I would love to hear it. And guys, if you did in fact enjoy this kind of Mets content and want to see more great Mets content like this, you know what to do by now. Smash that like and subscribe button, share this video with your friends, put on the notification bell, all those great things. Thank you all so much for the countless support, guys. I love you all truly. Now help us get a 6K. I know we'll get there sooner than later because you guys are all amazing, but stay tuned for tonight's live stream. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a big one, so I hope to see you guys there. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll talk to you soon.